There we go. Oh, not me doing the millennial pause. That's awkward. Um, awesome. Well, welcome everybody to this is the Thursday production call. We got some good stuff here for you guys. Just to kind of prep you, right? This will be an hour-long call. So our ask is that, you have a notepad and pen ready to take some notes, and we'll go over a bunch of stuff here for you. Don't try and change everything in your business. Just apply a couple of things that you learn into your production and your appointments, and that way we can all grow better and learn together. This is not just me and James talking at y'all. This is something that we struggle with from time to time too, so we're learning right along with you guys and getting better with y'all. The topic for today is decision drivers, getting clients off the fence. Basically how to some good practices on avoiding the think about it in your appointment. So we got some good stuff we're going to go over here for you guys. We want this to be interactive, so if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll also kind of pause occasionally for like any questions that y'all might have that come up. But let's get rocking and rolling. Oh, and if I don't know if I said this already, but if there's anything that you take away that helps you in your business, please post on Band because we are a community and we do learn together. And if it helped you, it might help somebody else. So share and let's build and grow together. So first, right, avoiding to think about it, we're gonna start on emotional labor. Um, right now, what that means is this business isn't, there's no like tangible thing for the client to look at every month when their payment comes out, right? So it's not like they're watching TV and it's their cable bill. They're like, oh yeah, that's why we pay cable, right? Because so we can watch TV. This is more emotional, right? It's protecting their family. So when that payment comes out every month, you want them to think about you and how you helped them and what you did for their family and their family's future. And one of the ways, you can kind of get them to do that is building rapport in the beginning. When you're building rapport, you want your questions to be really intentional, right? Like not just asking questions to ask questions about them or anything like that, right? You want to ask about their family, their occupation, and their recreation. We like to use the acronym FOR, FOR, because the client wants to know that you are for them. And you don't want to just ask them questions because that gets uncomfortable, right? Like that's kind of like a grilling session, and you want to make deposits before you take withdrawals, right? So the reason we ask questions about their family, their occupation, and their recreation is because that's potential to build more into that why, which helps avoid that think about it in the end, right? Because if we can say, hey, you said you were looking for this coverage for, right? So, hey, James, you said you were looking for this coverage for um, Manuel, and it's really important that if anything happens to you, that he's able to keep the home. It really helps, build into that emotion and remind them why you're having that conversation. And then right, since they already showed up to the appointment, they're already saying yes a bunch of times up to that point. So it's really just relying on using the other role and purpose to establish exactly what you're going to be doing in the appointment and getting that yes there to avoid that think about it later. Right. And for y'all that might not know and might be newer, I'm going to share my screen here and just kind of show you what the other role and purpose is. Just so you have it, and we'll post a link on Band too. Right. So this is not the role and purpose in the real script. This is what we'd say before we read the real script. Right. So hey, you built rapport. A good transition to use is, hey, I don't want to take up too much of your day. I'm gonna just kind of go over what we're doing here today and transition right into this, right? My role and purpose today for this appointment is I'm trying to get you the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium. How I do that is I get to work with about 30 different insurance companies to shop around for you. So I do all the work. What I need from you today is I'm going to verify your health info. I'm going to verify your budget a little bit. We'll put some options together that I normally see families do. I'll let you pick a couple of those, whichever ones make sense and fit the budget for you. We'll go ahead, we'll fill out the applications today. They usually take a day or two to get approved by the insurance company. Once they are approved, they'll draft out of your bank account in about a week and a half. They'll mail the policy to you. Does that sound good? And you want to get a some version of a yes after this, right? Like a yeah, sure, okay, great, let's go ahead. Or sometimes they'll even be like, yeah, here's my bank account now. Do you need it? And you're like, oh, well, sure. And just write it down. And when it gets to that point, you'll have it. But you want to get that yes here because then you're not kidnapping the client, right? You're getting them closer to understanding exactly what you're going to do. And then when you get through the process, you're going to avoid the think about it. Um, a lot of the think about it that we might get could be from the client feeling like they were kidnapped and trapped into the appointment, right? Because they just, we called them, we said, hey, talk tomorrow, mortgage protection. And they're like, I don't even know what this is. And then we just go into the real script, and then all of a sudden, hey, here's your options, $200 a month. And they're like, I need to think about that. I didn't know what we were doing here today. So this will help
Yeah.
avoid some of those think about it.
And I think this is huge here. So if you are getting a lot of think about it at the end, um, or even though you're getting different objections saying, hey, I thought we are just getting options or whatnot. So a lot of times you're not setting that foundation for them and then prepping them for, hey, we're going to write applications. This is really setting up for everything from hey, we're going to take applications, we're going to need your personal information, we're going to go over your health, we're going to go over your budget. If you get a lot of pushback on any of those, it's probably because you're not doing this role and purpose and preparing them. Hey, you know what? We're going to go over these things. We're going to go over your health. We're going to go over your budget financially, see if this is even something for you. We're gonna, we're gonna do the application. So this lets them know, hey, we're gonna fill out the application and multiple. So you're gonna write more than one apps. And then you're gonna ask the banking information. They're gonna draft from your account. And then, hey, the carrier is gonna mail you out the policy. If if you don't get, hey, that sounds good. If you don't get, yes, that sounds good, or okay, or yes. If you're getting pushback right here, it's a lot of times, hey, they still have that wall up and we just need to work on either building more rapport or asking better quality, rapport questions of dropping their ease or, finding out that why a little bit more of what that needs and let them know, hey, we're here for you. We're gonna help you. This is what we're gonna do. And if not, I mean, I usually, if I don't get the okay, I'm not moving on forward because I'm not gonna waste 20, 30 minutes trying to go over everything. And then it's going to be a think about it regardless if they're not ready, if they're just looking for options, they could look at options online. I mean, what we do is it's a craft here, so it's like a travel agent. Hey, you could go online and get the same booking and everything, but you want to talk to somebody. That way, you know you're getting the correct information. If something ever happens, I have somebody to contact versus just going online and I have a 1-800 number and I don't know what they're talking about. So that's what we do here. So we're basically there for them. We're the ones that like, hey, what do you need? This is the best option for you. So we're the professional for them. And we need to make sure we set up what the process is. That way we don't kidnap the client there and we don't get that think about it at the end. Um, I definitely recommend this is probably a lot of people getting in. This is the first part to start. If we're not saying this or something similar to this, this is where to start if you're getting a lot of think about it.
Yeah.
And then,
And then with
or-
this, right? So as far as building rapport, you don't want to just build rapport in the beginning of the appointment. That's where you start, and then you transition into your role and purpose, and then into your real script. But throughout the entire appointment, you want to keep building rapport to keep building that trust, right? Because you want to make a friend. A friend is someone that they can trust. They can be like, oh, yeah, they'll know that you have their best interest in mind. So you want to keep building rapport through the whole appointment. Um,
one of the easiest ones when you're building rapport is, if they have kids or family or who the beneficiaries, asking their name and then calling them by their name. That way, you personalize them, the options and everything that you're doing. Hey, it's for them, not just general. Like, hey, you got kids? Hey, what are their names? And then using it, hey, it's gonna protect Mary Johnson, everybody. You got to say the full names. Make sure you write down. So usually when I do it, I'll have like a full page of notes just for one client of where they do, what hobbies they like, anything out. And you're building that rapport throughout the whole call, not just the beginning. That's just to drop the wall and get you going, and that way they trust you. But throughout the call, especially if you're writing applications, hey, you're still building rapport because there's going to be gaps in there where you're filling out information. You can ask some questions. Hey, so what are y'all doing for the holidays? It's easiest icebreaker. How was your Thanksgiving? Are you doing any traveling? Whatever it is, it's great report questions on there. Because the better I mean, who are you going to trust? A friend, they're going to trust you, and it doesn't matter after that. It's just what's in their budget. So once you get that trust from them, you're showing them, hey, A, B, C, which one fits your budget?
Yeah. And with that, right, that's a really good one that you point out, like the holidays. Even if it's not the holiday season, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Or hey, did you have fun last weekend? And things like that, right? Like what's always worked for me is I'll be like, hey, yeah, I'm doing X. Like recently, I was like, hey, yeah, I'm moving to Maryland. And one of my clients, she called me the other day. She's like, hey, how was the move? And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like she actually like remembered that, right? Because like I used it as a building rapport moment because like, hey, they just moved into their home. I'm about to move and things like that, right? Like use those little things to help build that rapport because once you help them put protection in place, it's going to be stickier business. They're going to reach out to you. They're going to wish you a happy Thanksgiving or whatever it might be, right? Like it makes it a lot easier and a lot more comfortable for them.
Or when you ask for referrals, that trust is there, and it's gonna be like, why wouldn't they? I mean, they like you, your trust, everything, so they'll give you referrals, family members, friends as well. I mean, I still get some clients randomly. Hey, I got somebody that's interested in here. Boom, randomly
Yeah,
throughout. So it's always good to build that trust.
I love it. Um, and then another point to kind of build up on the emotional labor is in the FIF, right? And I'm going to share my screen, just kind of, right, recap on where to find the FIF form. So that way you have like the visual that helps build some of that emotion for them. So this is your HQ, your main home screen, the dashboard, whatever you want to call it. We'll go to sales tools, FIF and resets. We'll go, oh goodness gracious, no, fillable form, this one. This is one option, right? So you can print this out, you can fill it out. And then they moved it. So hang on. Yeah, it's this one. So you'll be able to look up your client's name. Just gonna pick a random client. And then you'll be able to already have this pulled up before the appointment. You'll have their mortgage info in there. You'll be able to, as you're going through the FIF in the appointment, you'll be able to enter in their monthly expenses. And you want to break down everything, right? Like what does the car payment look like? You already got their mortgage payment, so you don't have to add that here. Utilities, other insurance, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, anything else. And just go through and add all of those here, right? So I'll just put some like sample numbers. Just to give us something to work with. And then you'll be able to put in additional assets, any 401ks, anything in this list that they might have listed here. Any additional insurance, any existing life insurance. And then income. This is the really emotional part here, right? Because you can put client one income. So say James makes, hang on, I can't see anything. The bars are in the way. Say James makes 5,000 a month. And Manuel makes 2,500. This is where they get to see it, right? Great. Together, they're good. They got $3,800 a month after expenses. Good to go. But what if James's income goes away? You get to show them what it looks like with their current living situation if one of the spouses' income goes away. This is really powerful, right? Because a lot of times they don't realize, hey, if I'm gone tomorrow, my income's gone. And it gets them thinking. From here, after you're done with the FIF and you're at this point, this is where we want to transition into what we call like the why questions or like the power questions. Um, and this will really like dig out more of their need. And because you've already built up the rapport, it might still be a little bit uncomfortable for them to kind of talk about the tough emotions and right, like who isn't it hard for to talk about their loved ones passing away or dying. But this is where we really uncover some of that need. Um, so with that, there's a couple of really good like power questions that you can find in the real script. Here, if we go to page, I believe it's page 5, our quality questions. Here's some, if they're married, if they're single, these are some great questions to start with. I always like to ask a few of these that apply to like their situation. And then once they answer, if it's more of like a surface level answer, which a lot of times it is, right? I like to, ask them, how does that make you feel? Like asking the other spouse based on the answer, or tell me more, right? To kind of dig up and uncover exactly what they mean, right? So if I were to say, hey, we're gonna pretend that Manuel is here, but hey, Manuel, how does that make you feel that if James's income no longer comes in the house, that you'll be negative 1,200 every month? And then don't say anything else. Let them process, let them talk, let them tell you exactly what they're thinking. James, I know you had some more like power questions and things.
Yeah, I got these from the NEPQ that we had those power questions that we like to say. Um, so some of them are here. Let's see. Um, First, you could ask them what they have in place first. Like, hey, what do you currently have? Say we don't put anything. What would that look like? What rolls over to them? What will go to your family members? To your spouse or whatnot. Another one here is another way to put it. Say, hey, we don't put this in place. How long can Mary stay in the house? How many like what do we have in the bank right now? Do we have a 401k that currently would roll over? Or great questions to ask him. What do they have in place already? Because a lot of times, sometimes they do have something in place, and maybe they just need a little bit more just because they want that comfort zone, or they don't have anything in place already as well. So that's a great question just to kind of ask him, say, we don't put anything in place. A lot of times they don't. That's why you're talking to them. They're like, well, hey, I only, they don't have a lot in the savings. Hey, I can only stay 2 months, 3 months, and let that settle in for a minute. And then you could ask him, okay, so how does that make you feel, Mary? Well, not a good spot. And then ask the spouse, what about you? How do you feel about that? No, we definitely need to put something in place. You just got another okay. Or that, hey, that's why we're here today. Boom, you just got an okay. You just got to find something that fits their budget, and then that's where you got that. Dan, you got a question?
I mean, you're kind of answering it, but I just had a couple last night where they told me what they had, and you know, at the end of the day, they just kept going back to, we think we're gonna just use what we already have, which was not gonna cover the full mortgage, but they were like, you know, we're just going to do that for now. We don't know how much we're going to need anyway because we're building the home and it's not done yet. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that maybe it's just not a priority to them right now. But I was wondering, what does the conversation look like when they're very okay using what's already in place, even though it's not going to get them as far as they need to get?
Gotcha. That's
Um,
good.
I think it really like, and it could just be that's a one-off situation, right? Like they could really just be in that situation. But just really naming that puppy when it comes to their other coverage, right? Like, hey, what did you, when you're going over in the FIF, like, hey, great, you have 100,000 in life insurance. What did you get that for? Is it for income replacement, burial costs? What did you get it for? And usually they're like, oh yeah, both of those, right? You're like, oh great. And then I'm the same way. Like I write everything down for my clients. Like, oh, they said this policy is for this. And that way, right, when we get back to it and we're showing options, I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh, well, we have the 100,000, we're okay. Right. But you said that was for income replacement. And I want to really make sure that your family is okay and not having to use the income replacement to pay off the mortgage. Just right. And that's why like building that rapport and allowing them to get that trust with you is what comes in handy, right? Because
Yeah, and building that picture is really huge. So I actually like it when they have insurance already because they believe in the insurance, and more than 75% of the people don't have enough. I mean, like you said, they probably have something through work, 150, 200,000, allegedly or whatnot. But hey, they're bouncing around jobs, and it's like, how long? So great questions is how long you been in that job? A lot of times people move from bank, or let's say, worst case scenario, they've been there for 20 years. That's fine. But as soon as you leave, most of those carriers, or 90%, they say you don't take it. So as soon as you leave, that goes away. And a lot of people know that. So let's get something in place, and you can let them know like something you actually own. So I always tell them like, hey, you got any life insurance that you actually own that's not a benefit through work? Because those are benefits through work. Because a lot of times they have more restrictions, they have other stuff as well. That's why they're a lot cheaper too. I mean, so because they're doing group ones, or they only cover a certain amount. After a certain age, it's going to reduce in half. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff. And then as soon as they leave their job, yes, they have the option to keep it, they say. But a lot of times it's okay afterwards. Now we're going to do you at 65 and you're paying full rate. So it's just like if they talk to us now. And they say you could keep it. So a lot of people don't know that situation when they could have gotten the opportunity now and saved them hundreds or thousands at the end of, paying those expense and locking that in. And then naming that as well. Hey, that insurance can only do two things. I mean, one thing. So it can't do multiple. So if you have 100,000, 200,000, be like, hey, it's gonna go all to. You got to paint that picture. So okay, say you only owe 100,000, you have $100,000 policy. It's gonna go all up to. It's gonna eat up the whole policy, and then we're right back in the same situation where, hey, Mary doesn't have any income now because she doesn't work. She's relying. So you still need another policy. That policy can only do one thing. So painting that picture makes him a lot better to understand.
That was
yeah,
actually exactly what was the situation. Well, she worked, but she only made enough to almost pay the monthly mortgage, and all of her income goes towards that. And so if he isn't there, like not only could she not pay the mortgage, but like there's not enough income for life. And I just kept coming back to that, and I was like, that's where you're at right now. I don't know. I think that the way you're putting it to really have a frank conversation with them and like go deeper on that and be like, look, what does it look like? Because you're telling me that you're going to use all that money for the mortgage, and then what?
Yeah,
Like,
you have to. Yeah, it's hard conversations, but that's why I mean we get paid what we get paid for the hard conversations, and
sure,
and a lot of times no one's planning to pass away, nobody, right? But having a plan in place or something set up, that's what we do. A
right.
lot of times there's nothing, and even if it's just something a little bit right now, it's better off than where they were before. Even if it's an accidental, hey, you're healthy right now, let's please put an accidental. That way, if something happens, most likely it's going to be an accidental, but you have something in place, or mortgage protection. That's all we can afford. That's fine, but we have a plan in place. Hey, we're going to have equity. We have 12 months worth of mortgage payments, or, six, whatever. And then, hey, and then you paint the picture too. So I see a lot of families, they put this in place, and then usually they refinance, get that bill cut in half. So now they're getting ideas to do it, or refinance, getting to lower the payments, or hey, they're going to move. So we just get the equity, and that's really what we're getting. So we know the equity, the house is, hey, it's worth 500,000, they only owe 100,000. Hey, that 350,000, that's really what Mary's gonna get. So once they sell the house, we want to get that 350,000, and then maybe she could, move some to another house that's more affordable, closer to family, whatever the case may be, but now we have a plan in place. But see how depth it went, and then now they're picturing, oh, that's what I could do. A lot of people don't think about stuff like that as well. And that's why you're the expert. You got to paint that so when something does happen, when that time comes, because it's not a matter if, it's a matter when we're prepared and have something set for them. And then, I mean, and just digging into that why, it's really, and I know it's uncomfortable asking these questions, but hey, once you get good at it or just become more, it'll become more natural. And really caring about them, if you know the script and you're knowing everything, you can actually have a conversation just like here, like, hey, I mean, I'm present for that family in any way I can. So that'll help them wherever they're doing, what their situation financially. Hey, I tell them like the one you just said, for instance, hey, just, you know, the wife can't afford anything if he passed away. Hey, look, what? Let's focus on you first, on the husband, right? Let's get something in place for you because we're not going to have anything she can't afford to stay in the house. If it's still in our budget and we still can afford, we'll look at something for your wife. But let's focus on something because we need something in place for you because you can't afford it. He can, but not her. If it's something extra, hey, that's extra for you. So and you're doing stuff like that, sees them like, hey, you're not just trying to go for everything as well too. But we want to protect them and that, those big apps come, whatever, but being present for them and with every family we help, their situation is different and really getting deep down to what they have and what they don't have in place is really the key there. Because sometimes, hey, they don't need it. Hey, you have $1 million. You know what? That's enough to cover that, the house, everything, income. If you do have something in place, that's great. The only thing I can say, how long you had it, oh, it's a term. Hey, then maybe, you know what, let's look at replacing it because it's going to run out in 10 years. Let's replace it now versus waiting 10 years. Are you planning to die when you're 70? No. You know what I mean? Like you're 60, you only got 10 years left. Let's renew it now, or do you want to wait till you're 70 and it's going to be, $700 versus it's $300 now for $1 million policy? Realistic questions. Well, let's renew it now. You know what I mean? Or, let me think about it, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I love it. And then right, so we've built the emotion, we've asked them the hard questions, we've shown them the options now. Um, what a lot of, and I'm guilty of this too, and James, I know, right, we've talked about it, but once we show them the options, you don't want to say anything, right? Like, hey, here's option A, B, C. Have them write it down, use the visuals, whatever, right? Whichever one you're doing. And then after you go through, right, like, hey, 12 months is $199 a month. The next one to talk loses essentially, right? Because like you want them to ask questions or be like, hey, yeah, we're gonna go with this. If there is a silence there, right, don't fill it yourself. Because the more you talk after you say numbers, you're just a salesperson at that point. You lost the care, the right at that point, they're just there. All they heard was numbers, and now you just keep talking. That's gonna get you a lot more think about it.
Yeah, and just going back again, just if you didn't hear just a visual, they need to see what they're looking at to think about it. I mean, nobody's gonna be like, okay, you said three, four. Like make sure hey, grab a pen and paper. We're gonna go if you're just talking over the phone or you're just doing over Zoom. Like, hey, grab a pen and paper and wait. Let them grab a pen and paper. Hey, put this down, go over each option, take your time, making sure they write it down. Whatever they're doing, they need to see a visual. If you're showing it on a slideshow or whatever the case may be, they need to see a visual somehow. That way they can actually see numbers. And then after you give the options, stay quiet. If they're not giving you, hey, I think this is this, hey, I want this within the first 5 to 10 seconds, I would do the water trick after that. I would let that way you could give them time to think about it. And that's going to avoid, hey, think about it right now before you get your yes or no. You're not doing a follow up and they're just giving you a BS when it's a no already. Or if not, hey, yeah, that'll help them push to that. Okay, hey, you know what? Let's do this.
And this is what the water trick looks like, right? Hey, Daniel, so we got the 12 months, 199 a month. Okay, great. And then you're like, yeah, cool, got that. Daniel's not saying anything for 15, 20 seconds. You're like, hey, you know what, Daniel? I think I'm going to give y'all a minute to talk about it. I'm talking all day. I'm going to mute myself out, go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Yeah, especially if it's a couple, make sure you're giving time to think about it because hey, they're gonna want to talk it over. Because if not, the first thing they say, they're not gonna want to talk in front of you. They want to talk. They're gonna tell you, "Let me talk it over." So if you know it's a couple, automatically, hey, you show them the options. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you some time. Y'all talk it over. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab some water.
And
So I
say
beat them
exactly
before they
that.
even say it. So
Yeah.
especially if it's a couple, and even if it's somebody by themselves, hey, I'm gonna give you time to think about it because they need anybody needs to think about it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a minute or two to think about it. I'll be right back.
And half the time, for me at least, I'm standing like right over there at a camera site and I can hear them because like they 9 times if it's a couple, they typically don't always mute themselves. So you can hear them actually talking about it. You can hear them saying, oh, well, she said this, blah, blah, blah. Is this what I heard right? And then I'll come back after minute two, maybe if I still hear them talking, I'll give them like 5 minutes. And I'll come back and I'll sit down and hey, I'm back. And I'm always intentional, right? I do set my water back down so it doesn't look like I didn't get water. So I always set my water back down. I unmute, say, hey, I'm back. And I say nothing else, right? Because at this point, they have to make a decision. It's the ball's in their court. If they ask me questions, yes, I'm going to answer those questions, but I'm not going to go over the numbers again because they already either have a visual in front of them or they wrote it down. I'm just going to sit there. They'll ask questions. And 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, hey, yeah, we talked about it. We're going to do 6 months for me, 9 months for her, the two accidentals for 200,000 each. And like, yeah, we're going to do that. And that was this much a month. Yeah, great. What's your middle initial? Or what's your date of birth? And just go right into the application. Kind of take a minute. Any questions before we go into the second half here?
No, so that's another one, just making so that'll avoid the think about it if you're not doing that. The water trick's a real good one. So I would implement that definitely. Just that way, hey, you need to think about it. Yeah, I'm gonna give you time to think about it if you're getting pushback. So a lot of times when the beginning of the call, when you go over the role and purpose, they're saying, well, if it fits right, let me think about it or whatever. This is gonna give them the time to think about it now. This will avoid most of it. If you've done a proper job doing the budget, that's also another one. So make sure you're going over their budget. That way you see what they actually have left over or not. So you're not showing them something that's out of their budget or within that. You know what I mean? So, hey, you know what? Maybe they only have 200 bucks and you're showing them something that's 250. That's eating up all their money. You know what? Maybe we just need to start with something smaller, if that's our budget. So whatever they work with, though, I mean, just make sure you do go over that because if not, you're still going to get a thing about it. So make sure you go over the budget, and that's going over all their finances, what they have as well, and that will uncover also for FIF resets as well. So you know what, maybe if it's not a mortgage protection, they have something in place. You can at least find some other solution. Maybe, hey, maybe they want to do some events marketing where they want to invest money since they have extra and stuff, but they don't need that because they do have a life insurance policy in place. Hey, you don't need this, but hey, you know what? I think you may qualify for one of our programs. Hey, let me see. When's a good time here for you? you know, and you just reset it then instead. But if you're not going over the budget, uh, make sure you're doing that because that's the first one. That's a major one because then what are they gonna tell you? Well, let me see if it fits my budget. So that's one. So that's gonna avoid those think about it as well. Oh, I need to see where my budget's at or what my pricing I just moved in or whatever the case may be. So make sure
Oh,
you're going over the budget what they have.
and one more I forgot to mention in the beginning. Make sure that both spouses or both significant people are there in the beginning of the call.
Oh, yes.
I forgot to mention that, but that is
That's a
really
huge one.
important.
Yeah, that's huge. Don't run a one-legged appointment because 99.9% of the time you're gonna get a thing about it no matter what. Let me just run it by 'em. I don't care what they say. I'm the decision maker. I'm this. I'm the one that does the bills. Well, let me just run it by my wife real quick.
Yeah, and have
That's
the posture too, right? If they're the ones like, oh, I make all the decisions, blah blah blah. Hey, I totally get that. I totally respect it. I just got to make sure that or your spouse knows what they're the beneficiary of, right? Because like James said, they're still gonna want to talk about it after you go through.
yeah, or they use that as an excuse to avoid and just instead of report, they're gonna use that excuse and be like, well, let me just run it by my wife, make sure.
Yeah, and then they're gonna go and the only thing that they're going to tell their spouse is, hey, this guy James said that we can get $200,000 of coverage for $400 a month, and they'll be like, what in the hell? What did this guy talk to you about? So they're not there for the whole appointment discovery process, and they
Yeah,
need
because
to
they're
be.
not going over everything. So they're not going to be able to explain everything like how you just spent 30 minutes. There's just, hey, I got some insurance for the mortgage. So if it passed away, it's 200, 300. What you mean? Do you think we need this? So you just, you could just pretty much toss that lead out of the way. So make sure you do that one Lego. So a great way to say, hey, since it is insurance and she's a beneficiary, just for legal purpose, she does have to be present. That's a great way to tell them, hey, you got to show up. Whether and it doesn't even and just a beneficiary regardless. So I mean, it doesn't have to be a spouse. A spouse, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever that they say that if they're living together in the same household, most likely you want them to be present.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, only exceptions is usually when they're in their mid 50s or something, and they're like, hey, they can make the decision. I live by myself. I'm not married, but I'm gonna leave it to my kid, and they live out in Michigan. That's that one you could run because she doesn't need that. Once you do start getting older, it's opposite. Once you get, 75, you sound like, hey, maybe they need help to making a decision. You could ask them too. Hey, do you want the beneficiary? Hey, do you want your daughter to be there present? We could add her on the call as well because that avoids stuff too once they're getting older. Because then maybe like, well, let me just run it by my kids, make sure this is the right decision. That'll help too. So whoever they're gonna leave it to, you could also ask them when you're booking it, hey, do you want them to be present? Do we need to change that date when you're booking it as well? So vice versa as well.
yeah, cool. James, you want to kind of go into the assume the sale after we come back from the water trick?
Yeah, so once you come back from the water trick, you want to assume the sell. I mean, they're not gonna tell you it's rare, but they're not gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna want this one works. Let's cut that. They're gonna give you different verbiages like, I think this fits my budget. Or this one looks okay. The option two might work for the 159. That's assume the sell. So I mean that's you gotta assume the sell and just take it and just run with it. Okay, perfect, great choice. We can start off with like, I think this one will fit my budget for now. They're not gonna say, sometimes they do, but they're not gonna say, hey, this. So you gotta make sure you always tell them, all right, hey, let's start that, and then you just go, hey, what's your middle initial, or can I get your date of birth? Let me start the application for you. What's the date of birth? Usually I just tell them, let me get that started for you. What's your date of birth? That's my line. I know Val says, hey, what's your middle initial? You just start, assume the cell and start writing the application. Hey, I got your address at this, start verifying information, you go into it. And then as you're filling it out, you're building rapport too. So remember that too. Um, they say other stuff. I mean, they could do all kinds of stuff. So they could say, um, I think this fits my budget, or I think I can manage that for now, or
Yeah,
and then
my
if
I
they
think
if
one
they
of my
do ask you,
favorite.
what do you think? What do you recommend?
Hmm.
I always don't say it's my recommendation, or I always use they ever tell me that because sometimes you get that too. But instead of falling back, well, that's what they recommend. Hey, most families usually at least do 6 months or 9 months or whatever. But really, what fits your budget, where you're comfortable at. So it's not my decision, it's what I normally see families do, that herd mentality. People want to do what other people are doing. Hey, everybody's doing it. They at least do 6 months. And then they do the accidental. whatever whatever, if you're doing equity protection, you're doing the full mortgage. Um, so they're gonna say different stuff like that. And be like, hey, I think I'm gonna do this one, or like a start. And then if you see them, just be like, hey, they're picking that top tier one off the back. Like, hey, I'm gonna do the $200 one in this. Then you probably didn't show them enough too. So that's an opposite too. If they just say, hey, I'm gonna do the full mortgage. Hey, you gotta use that go for no too, because or hey, do you want the accidental? Which one did you want to do? One of the accidentals to if anything else happens, they'll pay out both of them. Oh, okay, because a lot of times, sometimes people think you kind of have multiple policies in place that they can have one. Um, so make sure you let them know. Yeah, both of them will pay out if something happens. Boom. So make sure you go for no as well if they're going. Or did you need more coverage? We can go a little bit higher. Oh, what does that look like? Boom, you just walk yourself.
Yeah.
And
A
then
good one for that is, hey, great. Yep, this will cover the mortgage. We can also add a little bit more coverage to do more of that income replacement for you. Oh, well, how much would that be? Yep. 450,000 with this policy is blah 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 blah. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Great.
yes, but it's. I mean, assuming that so is, they're never gonna tell you it's rare. Just they're not gonna say, give
Yeah.
me option A or option two. They're gonna be like, then they could be buying questions too once you come back too. So they could be like, what did this one cover, or which one is this? What does this do? Those are buying questions. You could answer those as well. Hey, this one does this and this. Okay, and then you kind of sometimes give them ideas. So I always show two accidentals and three mortgage protection. So I always give the full mortgage if it's in their cards, or if not, if they're older or whatever. Sometimes I start about half and go down, and then make sure like, hey, we're gonna do about half. That way it's a reasonable price. And then show the accidental. That way, hey, we go this with this. You could combine them. That way you get the full mortgage and the one that covers any kind of death, and kind of combine them as well to fit their budget. So remember, we're not here to get the full mortgage. It's rare if I ever do the full mortgage. Unless they're in their 20s, 30s, early 30s, we're never probably going to do the full mortgage if that's in the cards, because it's going to be, usually it's out of their budget. So those are those rare cases you get. So most of the time you're going to be covering about half or partial. And then the great way to cover it is adding that accidental. That way they still get the full mortgage, and that's how you combine both of them. So always showing them options for those, and then hey, you do this for this, and you combine them. And I don't say or, I say and. Say, hey, you get this and this. So you're not just choosing one. So you're getting both. And then, hey, if you're an accident, it's going to cover the full mortgage and then some to cover any other bills that you had, that cover your two-car payments you had, whatever the other house, whatever it is. So make sure that's why you're taking notes and stuff like that to personalize it for them for what they're looking for. And that's what makes it because I always tell them when going that, hey, every family I help is different. It's tailored differently because their budget's different and what they qualify for is different.
Yeah. Right. So then we're going into the application. We got it. Yay. Congratulations. You wrote it with America. They got the text. They were approved. Um, After that, you want to make sure you lock down the sale.
Yeah, and what you want to lock down because you don't want somebody else calling. Because remember, we're not the only ones that do this. Everybody else calling them still as well, especially if it's a new lead. People are still calling throughout. So you want to lock down that sell for yourself, all that work you put in. You don't want somebody to come around and just be like, hey, well, they undercut you for $5 as well. So that's why it's important to build that good rapport. Because a lot of times they'll come and like, no, I'm going to stick with them because I like them better. Because you're just giving me numbers. They actually care about me. So I don't care about $5, $10. So it's important to make sure you build that trust and that rapport. That way they remember you, and they like you. They'll refer more business to you, and somebody can't come in and try to tell them something. So I lock it down too. I always let them know, hey, if you get any more letters in the mail, just go ahead and toss them. I'll update it on my end just to make sure, it can take a couple weeks before they stop getting those letters. But once we mark it as a sell, they'll stop getting those letters, at least from us as well. But other people are still getting them, so you let them know, hey, just go ahead and toss those in the mail, in the trash, um, and I'll stop it on my end. If you get any more phone calls, because they are going to get more phone calls, remember, because we're not the only ones doing it. If you see anybody else, just let them know you're already taken care of, that James took care of you, If they don't know who I am, then hey, you probably shouldn't be working. Then it could be a scam. So just let me know, or just let them know you're not interested. Lock that cell down for yourself, and let them know if they keep bothering you. Let me know. Give them my contact information. They can reach out to me. So make sure you do lock it down, and then afterwards, and then that's when you ask for referrals. Hey, do you got any? You think I did a great job? Awesome. Who do you know that that could use this protection? Family members, friends. Definitely appreciate it. You locked it down as well, and then if that's the time, hey, you also saw that they had an old 401k, or hey, they have a lot of money in the bank, or maybe they're interested in retirement because they don't have any retirement in place. That's a great time for FIF reset, and you just go into it. So don't you be like, hey, you mentioned you don't have a retirement plan set up. Let me get you with one of my specialists that see if there was some options that maybe help you out. When's a good time for you? Same thing. You assume the sell. When's a good time? Booking an appointment. Or if hey, you have an old 401k, yeah, I think somebody might be able to help you out with that as well. One of our specialists. When's a good time? See if we can help you. With one of those programs you might qualify for. Just assume the sell and let them take over, and just let them know, well, hey, they have an old 401k from a previous job. Hey, they got a lot of money investing, or they don't like what the market's doing. Whatever you think they could qualify for, you put it and just be like, hey, when's a good time for you? It's 5, 10 minutes. See if we can qualify for one of our additional programs. So you assume the sell and just lock it down as well. So that's huge, making sure you do that and asking those FIF resets as well. So make sure you're not leaving that money on the table. Those extra referrals, those are free A leads. Referrals get already the trust because they already, the family member already bought from you. So in that referral, that trust is already there. So it's an easy layup. And those are free leads. So make sure you're asking for those. You're securing your lockdown, and then you're doing those resets to see if any other program or something that they don't have. Or if it wasn't a sell, hey, you know what? Maybe this wasn't for you. Let me see if we can help you out one of our programs as well. I know you mentioned this. Let's see if it's something for you. Uh, what about next? The sooner the better. So, hey, what about tomorrow, the next day? Same thing. Try to book it as soon as possible. So that 24 or 48 hours, try to book it. Unless, they give you, hey, follow next week, 'cause that's the only day available. But you try to book it within reasonable time. What do you got?
I like it. We got a few minutes here. Anybody have any questions about, avoiding the think about it, kind of getting the client off of the unsure fence? Anything that we can, want to go over again, or any questions? We got about 10 minutes or so.
So whenever you're doing the water trick, before you do it, are you giving out like, because what I like to do during an appointment is be able to give them like at least 2 to 3 options. Like I'll give them the most comprehensive, and I'll give them one with a smaller budget and smaller coverage, or one with slightly more coverage and higher premium. Do I do that and give them each of them before the water trick, or do I do give them one and then come back, and then whatever they say after that, kind of go based on that?
Yeah, good question. You want to give them all of their options,
Okay.
because during the
Okay.
water trick, you want them to think about all of the options.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I had a question. I guess if you book an appointment and they no show, you call them to reschedule, and they're like, "Oh, well, we talked about it. We don't need it." How do you kind of go from there, I guess?
You could just ask him if, like, you're thinking about, make sure we're talking about the same thing. This is insurance that'll pay off if you pass away or become disabled. You mentioned, it's not for you. I mean, was there something you kind of go and kind of dig in the motion? And when you filled it out, you mean, what was the concern we were first looking for, when you filled it out? Was it for income replacement? Was it the living benefits? What were we looking for? If something happened, you kind of dig into that. And if it's a no, next. Don't waste your time on that.
Yeah. All right, Garrett.
So this wasn't an appointment, it was just a call, but I was talking to a lead and um I didn't really connect with him on like the I think the like the example of like what happens if you die tomorrow and your family has to pay without. I think that's what I said, but I didn't really connect with the lead in this case on that or like really do a good job portraying the situation that his family would be in. Um, how do I know when it's the right time to bring that up, and how do I do it correctly?
Yeah, so you don't want to do it when you're booking the appointment. Think of yourself as two different people, right? When you're booking the appointment, you're the appointment setter. It's just your job to collect the basic info and book the appointment. You'll want to do that in the appointment, right? And if you're reading the real script, it breaks down every part and hey, here's what you say, and it even gives you some of the why and behind what you say in there. But really just gauging their emotion after you build the rapport, right? Because otherwise you're just some stranger that's asking them about what if their spouse dies.
Right.
But just making sure you follow through the whole real script and you build that rapport through the whole appointment, and then you'll know, right? Because like you'll get to that point in the real script, you've done the FIF, now you're asking like the emotional, the hard questions, and the conversation goes from building rapport where you're like, hey, let's be besties, to hey, all right, here's what we're doing. This is what this is. Do you need this? Do you qualify? Right? Medical questions, FIF. Now, hey, what is it like? Right? The tone kind of goes down to more like, hey, more concerned, like, hey, like, do you need this? What happens if XYZ? What's your situation look like? Right? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I made the mistake, which is glaring now.
Yeah,
Thank
no worries. We've all done it, right? Because like you want to be able to help them, but think of yourself as two different people. When you're booking the appointment, you're the appointment center. You have no idea what the appointment's about other than mortgage protection.
Yeah,
And then when
even
you're
with,
in the appointment, you're the professional.
yeah, and it could even work the other way. So this time maybe you were giving too much information right off the back, but it also works the other way around too. So if they start asking a lot of questions too, don't go into there either. Just be like, hey, I'll go over all that tomorrow at our appointment at 5 o'clock.
Sure.
So remember, you're busy. Like, hey, I don't got time right now, but I'll be able to go over that tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Thank you
Yep.
Yeah,
very much, Amber and James.
absolutely. Any other questions? Thomas.
So am I to get it right that we're kind of not going for eventually do one call closes? We're making sure to do appointment and then close? Because I've seen a lot of information on one call closes, and that's one of the things that Jason McDowell wanted us to get to, was be able to do the whole appointment in one if the customer has the opportunity and chance.
Um, it's possible as you get more seasoned, right? I highly recommend, connecting with Chris and just allowing him to mentor you in a way, right? Because most of us, I would say 90% or if not more of us do the booking and then the appointment is a separate call, right? Because Zoom is a big part of building that rapport. Um, so that's why that's like a really important thing, right? Like phone appointments, depending on the lead, yes. But Zoom is really going to be a huge part in building the rapport and building the trust, right? Because they can see that you're a real person. They can see, my dog will run up and he'll be squeaking his toy from across the room and just run up and they'll hear that. And it just helps build the rapport. If you have children, they see the children doing whatever in your background, great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Topic related? All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up a little bit early. Thank y'all for joining us. If you write anything that we went over today, if it helps you in your appointment, please post on Band. That way it can help others as well. And let's go finish out week 1 of December strong and let's have a great one. Thanks, y'all. See you in the next one.
Bye, guys.